Picture the sun beating down relentlessly on California's Central Valley in the 1930s. The air is filled with dust and the smell of ripening crops. Families bend over rows of lettuce, cotton, and grapes for hours on end, barely earning enough to survive. Among them is a young boy, barely tall enough to see over the rows, carrying a basket heavier than he should. His hands are blistered, and his shoes are worn through, yet he keeps going. This boy is Cesar Chavez, born on March 31, 1927, in Yuma, Arizona, the eldest of 6 children in a poor Mexican-American family. His parents were farm laborers, and their lives were marked by poverty, discrimination, and the harsh realities of migrant work. From a young age, Cesar witnessed injustice firsthand. Families like his moved constantly, chasing seasonal work across the Southwest. They lived in temporary labor camps, where conditions were deplorable: no running water, no toilets, and little access to healthcare or education. These early experiences left an indelible impression on Chavez, shaping his commitment to fight for the rights of those who, like his family, were often forgotten by society. Despite his hardships, Chavez understood the value of learning. He attended school whenever his family could settle temporarily. He was bright and curious, fascinated by history and the power of knowledge to change lives. But education was constantly interrupted by labor. By the time he reached 8th grade, Cesar had to leave school to help support his family full-time. This did not deter his intellectual growth. Chavez was a lifelong learner, absorbing lessons from books, newspapers, and mentors. He understood that knowledge and organization were key tools in the struggle for justice, lessons he would later apply as a labor leader. During World War II, Cesar Chavez served in the U.S. Navy. The military offered him discipline, resilience, and a sense of duty, experiences that would shape his approach to activism. After the war, he married Helen Fabella, a steadfast partner who supported him through decades of organizing and public struggle. Together, they raised 8 children, instilling in them the values of perseverance, integrity, and service. Returning to California, Chavez became involved with the community service organization, CSO, a Latino civil rights group. There, he honed his leadership and organizing skills, leading voter registration drives and civic education campaigns. He absorbed the lessons of nonviolent resistance from figures like Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr., understanding that meaningful change required courage, strategy, and moral authority. By the early 1960s, Chavez recognized the dire plight of farm workers in California. They were exploited by growers, subjected to long hours, low wages, and dangerous working conditions, and had little recourse for complaints. Most feared retaliation, so silence and fear prevailed. In 1962, Chavez co-founded the National Farm Workers Association, NFWA, which later became the United Farm Workers, UFW. His goal was simple yet revolutionary: organize farm workers, demand fair treatment, and insist on human dignity. Chavez was a charismatic yet humble leader. He often said that he was just one voice among many and led by example. His organizing methods included community meetings, boycotts, strikes, and marches, all grounded in nonviolent principles. One of the most famous campaigns led by Chavez was the Delano Grape Strike, beginning in 1965. Filipino and Latino farm workers joined forces to demand better wages and safer working conditions. The strike lasted 5 years, a period of intense hardship and perseverance. Chavez traveled the country, raising awareness of the workers' plight. He spoke in auditoriums, on television, and in churches, appealing to the public's sense of justice. The movement inspired consumers to boycott grapes from growers who refused to negotiate fairly. The strike was not without risk. Chavez and his supporters faced threats, intimidation, and hostility. Yet through it all, he remained committed to peaceful resistance, teaching workers that lasting change comes from collective courage, not violence. Cesar Chavez believed deeply in leading by example. When negotiations with growers stalled, he undertook hunger strikes, fasting for days to demonstrate his commitment and galvanize support. These acts drew national attention and symbolized the moral dimension of the struggle. The fight for farm workers' rights was not merely economic, it was ethical. Chavez also emphasized education and community building. The UFW taught workers about labor rights, literacy, health, and civic engagement. He understood that empowerment came not only through contracts but through knowledge, solidarity, and pride. Chavez's advocacy extended beyond California. He met with politicians, journalists, and public figures, building alliances to support legislation that protected workers. In 1975, he led a 340-mile march from Delano to Sacramento, a powerful symbol of determination and courage. His speeches and leadership inspired millions, particularly Latino communities, to engage in civic life and fight for justice. Through his lifetime, Chavez received numerous awards and honors. His work became a blueprint for labor movements worldwide and an inspiration to all those seeking social justice through nonviolence and community action. Despite his public persona, Chavez remained devoted to family. His wife, Helen, was his partner in activism, raising children while supporting his demanding schedule. Their family life was grounded in values of humility, hard work, and faith. Chavez's personal experiences as a father and husband deeply informed his compassion for the families of farm workers, ensuring his advocacy always considered both labor and community well-being. Cesar Chavez passed away on April 23, 1993, at the age of 66. Yet his work continues to resonate. The United Farm Workers persist as a force for justice, advocating for fair wages, safe working conditions, and human rights. Schools, streets, and public holidays, including Cesar Chavez Day, honor his contributions. Chavez's life reminds us that meaningful change often comes from ordinary people willing to stand together for justice. His philosophy, that courage, integrity, and nonviolence can overcome oppression, continues to inspire activists, students, and everyday citizens. As Chavez said, "The fight is never about grapes or lettuce, it is always about people." Through his relentless dedication, Cesar Chavez transformed the lives of countless farm workers and demonstrated that one person's vision, when combined with community action, can indeed change a nation. Thanks for watching. Please consider subscribing to the channel and see you soon.